Up until now, we've been focused on the joys of using the navigation component to move between different fragments within our activity. Now, Android also allows you to navigate between activities, both within your app and to activities provided by other applications. For example, you can launch the system camera activity to have it capture a photo for your app, or you can launch the Contacts app to choose a contact, enter a new contact, or even edit an existing contact. We'll be using this functionality to share our trivia conquests with friends. This is all done using intents and intent filters. An intent indicates intention of your app. It's sort of a description of something that the app wants an activity to perform. They come in two flavors: explicit and implicit intents. An explicit intent is used to launch an activity using the name of the target activity class, and they are typically only used to launch other activities within your application. The navigation component does this for you when you navigate to other activities in the navigation graph. Implicit intents provide an abstract description of the operation to be performed, and they most often are used to launch activities that are exposed by other applications.
Intents are descriptions that the system uses to locate activities on behalf of applications. If intents were used to locate grocery stores in the real world, an example of an explicit intent would be the description of a specific local convenience store, while an implicit intent would describe grocery stores within a 5-mile radius that sold organic cabbages. Note that the system might not have any apps that can handle an implicit intent, just as there might be no cabbage-selling grocery stores near you.
When multiple Android apps can handle the same implicit intent, Android will pop up a chooser, like this one, that contains a list of compatible apps, so that the user can select their desired one to handle the request. Implicit intents are important because they allow an app to request something from another app without having to know anything about that other app. When we share some text from our app with an implicit intent, we don't need to know whether the user prefers to share using a social network, or a text message, or an email, just that we want to share text with an app that has an activity that can handle the request. Each implicit intent must have an action. Now, these actions are completely different than the actions we have in the navigation graph, and I apologize for us using the same term to mean two different things, but it's a useful term. Actions are used in intents to describe the type of thing that is to be done.
Common actions are defined in the intent class, such as view, edit, or dial.
In addition to an action, implicit intents have a category and data type to further describe the operation. Categories aren't always used, but are used to further disambiguate the action. An example of how categories are used is in the main entry point action. The category is used along with the main entry point to launch an available music player or mapping application. Finally, implicit intents can include a data type, such as text or a JPEG image, which allows applications to be chosen based on the data types they can accept. The send intent we use later on is a good example of this.
All activities must be registered in the Android manifest to be launched. Activities that are only launched explicitly can be declared with just an activity tag, while implicitly launched activities require an intent filter. An intent filter is used to expose that your activity can respond to an implicit intent with a certain action, category, and/or type. For the Android launcher to start an activity, the activity needs to be registered in the Android manifest with the correct intent filter. We can see what this correct intent filter looks like in the main activity of our app. The intent filter registers our main activity with Android as an entry point for our application with the main action, designed to be used by the application launcher because of the launcher category. If an activity in the app didn't have this intent filter, the app wouldn't appear in the launcher.
So that's what intents are and what they do. Next, we'll use them to implement sharing in the Trivia app.